Motivational interviewing is a method that works on facilitating and engaging intrinsic motivation within an individual to change behaviour according to specific therapeutic goals. As such, motivational interviewing is an empathic, person-centred therapy technique that prepares people for change by helping them resolve ambivalence, enhance intrinsic motivation, and build confidence to change. In this lesson, we spend time familiarising ourselves with the objective, the basic principles, and skills required of the therapist to effectively navigate the motivational process. The 4 core skills that a therapist has developed to conduct successful motivational interviews are the ability to express empathy, develop discrepancy, manage resistance, and support self-efficacy. Express empathy. So first of all, the therapist creates an atmosphere where the client can feel safe, secure, and open up to face and explore difficult realities. He or she fosters awareness and acceptance, which are necessary for the client to overcome shame, denial, and resistance. The therapist consistently practices active listening skills and seeks to understand the client's problems without judgment, criticism, or blame. Ambivalence, which is wanting and not wanting to change or wanting incompatible things at the same time, is considered as normal and reasonable given the client's life history and circumstances. Compassion is vital in the ability to efficiently and authentically express empathy. 2, develop discrepancy. There is the impotence for change if a person recognizes that his or her behavior is in conflict with their life goals. The therapist uses his or her skills to identify and amplify these discrepancies as reasons for change by utilizing change statements that recognize the problem and express concern and establish an intention to change and optimism that is achievable. 3, accept resistance. The therapist does not argue or directly oppose resistance, but rather promotes understanding and offer new perspectives. The client retains ownership of his or her options and decisions and becomes empowered in the change process. 4, support self-efficacy. We have seen that confidence in his or her ability to succeed in change and achieve the desired outcome is a major factor in the client's motivation to change. The therapist applies his or her skills to enhance confidence and emanates the belief that positive change is achievable. By utilizing the skills we've discussed, the therapist uses basic interaction techniques that are used early and often in the motivational interviewing approach. These are the use of open questions, affirmation, reflective listening, and summary reflection. The very apt acronym referring to instruments that can get a person from one point to desired destination, according to Miller and Rolnick, 2012. 1, open questions. Open questions encourage clients to talk and are non-leading, judgmental, or presumptive. It is useful to establish rapport, gather information, increase understanding. Rather than asking, did you have a good relationship with your parents? The therapist may ask, what can you tell me about your relationship with your parents? 2, affirmations. Affirmations are statements and gestures that the client recognizes strengths and acknowledges behaviors that can lead to positive change and goal achievement. Affirmations must be genuine and believable to build the client's confidence in his or her abilities to change. Examples are, that took a lot of courage to, and you show a lot of patience in the way you handle. Reflective listening is easy for a therapist to misinterpret what a client says or assume what a client means or needs. Reflective listening requires a therapist to frequently repeat, rephrase and paraphrase and reflect on what the client says and appears to feel and think. This technique not only deepens the interaction, but tests whether the therapist has the correct understanding of the client's spoken and unspoken words. It also reinforces the client's insight into their experiences. Summary reflections. Summaries are part of active and reflective listening skills and are mainly used at transition points in the session. Summarizing helps to ensure that there are clear communication and understanding between the therapist and client, which provides a basis for change. In the technique of synthesizing, the focus is on change statements made by the client, including problem recognition, concern, intent to change, and optimism. Ambivalence is also acknowledged, and the therapist may begin his or her summary reflection with statements such as, "Let me see if I understand so far," or "Here's what I heard. Tell me if I've missed anything." The response from the client often then leads to concrete steps towards the change goal. So there's 4 general principles to achieve effective motivational interviewing. 1, engaging is used to involve the client in talking about issues, concerns, and hopes, and to establish a trusting relationship with a therapist. 2, focusing is used to narrow the conversation to habits or patterns that the clients want to change. 3, evoking is used to elicit the client motivation for change by increasing their sense of the importance in change, their confidence about change, and their readiness to change. And 4, planning is used to develop practical steps clients want to use to implement the changes they desire. So therefore, the therapist uses his or her skills to apply the interaction techniques that will increase the client's motivation to change. The principles and techniques are used interactively depending on the stage of the process. Shared understanding between the therapist and client, and commitment and motivation of the client to achieve specific goals. The skills require genuine empathy, acceptance, recognition, patience, and resilience from the therapist. They're not easy to apply effectively and take time to practice to develop. However, the effort will definitely reward it, no doubt, with satisfied clients. Any questions, guys, on anything we've covered so far? Any questions?